Imagine finding true peace and ancient wisdom right in the middle of a vibrant metropolis. This video isn't just about temples. It's your guide to unlocking Seoul's deepest spiritual treasures and experiencing Korea's heritage in a way you never thought possible. Get ready to discover hidden pathways to breathtaking sanctuaries that will redefine your Seoul adventure. Welcome to South Korea, a land where the impossible becomes reality. It is a place where time has carved secret landscapes between the mountains and the sea, and where the future is being built on the foundations of a 1,000-year history. Today, we are embarking on a journey through South Korea's most unreal landscapes. We will reach the unseen in the familiar, walk the razor's edge between north and south, and uncover beauty long concealed from the ordinary traveler. From the volcanic heart of Jeju to the neon pulse of Busan, this is Korea like you've never seen it before. Seoul fills the basin of the Han River like an ocean of light and concrete. From the mountain peaks towering above, the view stretches across dense blocks of skyscrapers that seem to continue without end. A testament to sheer human ambition pressed between ancient ridges. Bridges cross the wide river in steady lines, their girders glowing against a flow of traffic that never truly stops. The city's pace is constant, a rhythmic hum of energy vibrating from the highly efficient subways running deep beneath the ground to the elevated expressways carving through the urban valleys. At street level, it's a glorious sensory overload. Neon signs pulse over districts known for all-night entertainment, while steam rises from street food tents, serving spicy tteokbokki and savory pancakes late into the dawn. Yet, amid this unbelievable density, nature asserts itself. Wooded slopes rise right within the city limits, offering trails that look down on the sprawl below. Walking these paths feels surreally different. The roar of the metropolis fades into a distant buzz. Seoul is a city of intense contrasts, a place where you can feel exhilaratingly lost in a crowd of millions one moment and find utter stillness just around a corner the next. Off the southern coast lies Jeju Island, a world born of fire and fury millions of years ago. It feels almost alien compared to the mainland, a raw, elemental kingdom of black volcanic rock, deep craters, and vast fields of hardened lava. At the island's center rises Haeundae, a dormant volcano and the highest mountain in Korea, watching over the land like a sleeping guardian. From its summit crater, the slopes spill outward in every direction, shifting colors like a living painting. Pink azaleas in spring, blazing red leaves in autumn, and pure white snow in winter. The coastline here is hypnotic. It alternates between pale, sandy beaches and sheer basalt cliffs, where the waves crash in a constant thundering rhythm. Walking here, you feel the power of the wind. It's a force that shapes everything, from the bent trees to the iconic black stone walls farmers built to protect their crops. There is a wildness to Jeju that humbles you. It's not just a vacation spot. It's a place where you can feel the pulse of the earth. When you stand on those cliffs, tasting the salt spray and looking out at the endless horizon, you realize that nature here isn't just a backdrop, it's the main character. On the southeastern edge of the peninsula lies Busan, a city that defies gravity. It is built where jagged mountains descend directly into the sea, forcing the urban sprawl to climb steep ridges and squeeze into narrow valleys. From the air, the city looks scattered. Clusters of high-rise towers pressed tight between hills, river estuaries, and the ocean. It is a dramatic, vertical landscape where your legs will feel the burn of the streets just as much as your eyes will feast on the views. The soul of Busan is its port. It dominates the shoreline, a forest of docks, cranes, and container yards stretching for kilometers, filled with massive ships arriving from across the globe. The air here hangs heavy with the scent of brine and diesel, a gritty reminder of the city's role as a trade powerhouse. The pace matches the geography, relentless. Down at the markets near the water, vendors shout over the flapping of fresh catch, a chaotic symphony of commerce. Yet, if you drive just 10 minutes up a winding mountain road, you find yourself in quiet residential districts with panoramic views of the glittery ocean below. Busan feels raw, unpolished, and incredibly alive. North of Seoul, the vibrant chaos of the city fades into flat river plains before meeting the most heavily fortified border on Earth, the Demilitarized Zone. At Embark Park, a symbolic gateway to this divided land, the atmosphere shifts instantly. It is a place built to console families separated by the Korean War, holding monuments and relics that speak to a deep, unresolved national wound. One of the most striking sights is the Freedom Bridge. Once used to return prisoners of war, it now ends abruptly at the barbed wire fences, a bridge to nowhere. Nearby, rusting locomotives sit on broken tracks, preserved as ghostly reminders of routes that once linked north and south. The fence itself is covered in thousands of colorful ribbons, each inscribed with a handwritten message or prayer for reunification, a vibrant cry for connection against a backdrop of steel and razor wire. Observation decks look across the Incheon River toward North Korea. On clear days, you can see villages and guard posts standing just beyond the line. The stillness of the rural landscape is deceptive. It contrasts sharply with the rows of watchtowers and the unseen eyes of soldiers. It's a surreal experience, standing on the edge of a geopolitical precipice, listening to the birds sing over a land where humans cannot tread. On the west coast of the peninsula lies Incheon, a city built on tidal flats and islands where the Han River meets the Yellow Sea. The shoreline here is broad and low, shaped by massive mudflats that stretch far into the horizon when the water pulls back. It creates a landscape that is constantly breathing, shifting between ocean and earth with the rhythm of the tides. But Incheon is also a marvel of human engineering. Over the past century, the sea has been pushed back, replaced by docks, shipyards, and reclaimed districts that expand boldly outward into the water. This is the gateway to Korea. The port is the beating heart of the city. Cranes, piers, and container yards extend along the coast, welcoming ships from every corner of the globe. Nearby, the Incheon Bridge cuts a striking line across the water, leading to the international airport on Gyeongju Island, a complex built entirely on land reclaimed from the sea. Incheon is defined by movement and exchange. It's where the salty air of the Yellow Sea mixes with the jet fuel of departure, marking the start of millions of journeys. The very center of Seoul stands Gyeongbokgung, the largest and most majestic of the royal palaces built during the Joseon dynasty. Constructed in 1395, it was designed at the foot of Bukhansan Mountain, with its main gates opening boldly toward the city. Stepping through those massive wooden doors feels like walking through a portal in time. The roar of the modern city vanishes, replaced by the crunch of gravel underfoot and the distant rhythmic beat of drums from the changing of the guard ceremony. The palace grounds stretch across hundreds of buildings arranged in courtyards that follow strict Confucian principles of order and hierarchy. The throne hall rises above a broad stone terrace where kings once received officials and foreign envoys. You can almost feel the weight of history in the cool shadow of its eaves. But the real magic lies deeper inside. Behind the grand halls lie secret gardens and pavilions reflected in still, mirror-like ponds. The wooden columns and painted beams display the bold colors of dancheong patterns, meant to protect the wood and symbolize harmony. Standing here, watching the reflection of a 600-year-old roof floating on the water, while modern glass towers rise silently beyond the walls, is a profound reminder of Seoul's resilience. It is a sanctuary of silence in the heart of the storm. In the dead center of Seoul rises Namsan, a forested mountain that stands like a green island surrounded by the gray ocean of the capital's sprawl. It is the city's most visible landmark, yet stepping onto its slopes feels like vanishing into a secret garden. The climb begins steeply, the noise of traffic fading with every step, replaced by the rustle of pine, oak, and maple trees that dress the mountain in different colors with every season. Trails wind through the woods, some paved with ancient stone steps, others narrow dirt paths that circle the ridges. As you hike, glimpses of the city appear through gaps in the trees. A sudden flash of the Han River, or a cluster of skyscrapers looking like toys from this height. At the summit stands the N Seoul Tower, dominating the skyline like a futuristic beacon. But the true magic isn't just the view from the top, it's the quiet pockets you find along the way. Streams trickle down shaded gullies, and old fortress walls trace the ridgeline, glowing soft amber at sunset. Namsan offers the rare chance to look down on the frenetic pace of Seoul and breathe, suspended high above the world below. On the southeastern edge of Busan lies Haeundae Beach, a place where the raw power of the ocean meets the soaring ambition of the city. It is a wide, magnificent stretch of pale sand, curving gently for more than a kilometer. But what makes Haeundae truly surreal is its backdrop. This isn't a secluded tropical paradise. It is an urban amphitheater, framed on one side by rocky pine-covered headlands, and on the other by towers of glass that rise directly behind the beach, reflecting the ocean in their windows. The sea here is deceptively calm, with waves rolling in shallow arcs that glint like crushed diamonds under the sun. During the day, the energy is electric. The sand disappears under a mosaic of thousands of colorful umbrellas, a vibrant sea of humanity enjoying the summer heat. But if you come here in the early morning, before the city wakes, it is a different world. It's just you, the gulls circling overhead, and the soft hiss of the tide. And at night, the beach transforms again. The skyline erupts in light, casting long, shimmering reflections on the dark water, carrying the sound of the sea right into the heart of the neon city. On the steep slopes towering above Busan's harbor lies Gamcheon, a hillside village that feels less like a city district and more like a living work of art. Often called the Machu Picchu of Busan, the buildings climb the ridge in tight terraces, painted in bright pastels, mint greens, sky blues, and canary yellows that stand out brilliantly against the gray cliffs and the deep blue sea beyond. From a distance, the roofs appear like a chaotic, beautiful mosaic layered in uneven rows across the mountain. But the real magic happens when you get lost inside. The streets here are a dense maze of narrow alleys and twisting stone steps that wind upward between the houses. Some paths are so tight that neighbors can speak to each other across the rooftops. It's an intimate, lived-in space where art isn't just in a gallery. It's on the walls, around the corners, and hidden in small courtyards. Murals and whimsical sculptures blend seamlessly with the laundry drying on lines and the potted plants guarding doorways. From the higher paths, the view opens up spectacularly across the harbor. A stunning reminder of how this vibrant community clings to the mountainside, defying the terrain with color and spirit. In the northeast of Gangwon Province, the earth thrusts upward in a display of sheer granite violence. This is Seoraksan, a national park defined by peaks that rise like jagged teeth above deep, verdant valleys. The highest summit, Deoksugung, reaches over 1,700 meters, often disappearing into the clouds that cling to its rocky crown. But it is the ridges extending outward that steal your breath. Cliffs and spires shaped by centuries of wind and rain, looking more like a dragon's spine than a mountain range. Seoraksan is a landscape of dramatic moods. In summer, the valleys are lush and filled with the roar of waterfalls spilling from high cliffs into crystal clear pools. But it is autumn that transforms this place into a legend. The ridgelines ignite in sweeping fires of red and gold, one of the most celebrated displays of foliage in all of Asia, drawing hikers who look like pilgrims ascending a temple of color. And in winter, the granite towers stand stark and black against white slopes, a monochrome masterpiece. Hiking here isn't just exercise. It is a humbling encounter with the vertical scale of nature, where you stand on a precarious edge and watch the world fall away beneath your feet. On the eastern edge of Jeju Island rises Seongsan Ilchulbong, a fortress built not by human hands, but by explosive fire. Formed more than 100,000 years ago by a hydrovolcanic eruption, this tough cone thrusts out of the sea like a giant crown. From the water, it appears impregnable, a castle of sheer stone cliffs circling a wide, hollow crater at the summit. The walls are steep and jagged, their layers of rock marked by eons of wind and crashing waves. The climb to the top is a journey through time. The slopes leading upward are covered in sweeping fields of grass that dance in the constant ocean breeze, rather than the dense forests found elsewhere. As trails climb toward the rim, your lungs burn, but the reward is otherworldly. The crater opens up into a massive grassy bowl, nearly half a kilometer across, a silent amphitheater in the sky. It is most legendary at dawn, as the first light breaks over the rim and spills across the sea. The rising sun casts the jagged cliffs into sharp silhouette. A view so profound it gave the peak its name, Sunrise Peak, and has drawn travelers to witness the birth of the day for generations. Most temples in Korea hide in the deep silence of the mountains, seeking the clouds. But Haedong Yonggungsa was built for the roar of the sea. Standing on the rocky shores of Busan, this is one of the few temples in the country built directly beside the ocean. It is a place of dramatic beauty, where the spiritual world meets the elemental force of the tide. Waves crash violently against the jagged cliffs below, sending salt spray into the air, while the colorful temple buildings climb the slope above, unbothered by the storm. Founded in 1376, the complex feels like it has grown out of the rock itself. To reach it, you don't climb up. You descend 108 stone steps, walking down toward the water as if entering a dragon's palace. Stone lanterns line the path, guiding you to a sanctuary where a 3-story pagoda rises beside a giant golden Buddha looking out over the Pacific. The atmosphere here is hypnotic. The rhythmic chanting of monks mixes with the ceaseless thundering of the surf, creating a soundscape that washes away the noise of the world. Come at sunrise, when the sun lifts directly out of the ocean, and you'll understand why they say this is the one place where at least one of your prayers will be answered. On the southeastern plains, time behaves differently. This is Gyeongju, the ancient capital of the Silla Kingdom for 1,000 years, often called the Museum Without Walls. But this isn't a city of glass cases and velvet ropes. History here is stitched into the very soil. The city sits in a wide basin where modern life flows around the colossal ghosts of the past. The most striking features are the tumuli, massive grassy burial mounds of kings and nobles that rise across the city center. In the mornings, when the mist clings to the ground, these rounded green hills look like strange, beautiful islands scattered among the streets. It's a surreal coexistence. You can sip a latte in a modern cafe while looking out at the tomb of a monarch who ruled in the 6th century. Beyond the burial grounds, the hills hold secrets like Bulguksa Temple and the Seokguram Grotto, masterpieces of Buddhist art hidden in the forest. But you must stay until nightfall. That is when Deoksugung Palace and Wolji Pond come alive. Illuminated against the dark sky, the pavilions cast perfect golden reflections onto the water, a vision of imperial elegance so complete you can almost hear the rustle of silk robes from a millennium ago. Just south of the capital lies Yongin, a city that serves as a bridge between the frantic energy of Seoul and the rolling silence of the countryside. The landscape here spreads across valleys and ridges that spill out from the Gyeonggi Hills, creating a patchwork of farmland, new residential districts, and stretches of thick forest. It is a commuter city, yes, but beneath the surface, it holds the rhythm of an older Korea. The air feels different here, heavier, slower. Summer brings thick mists that gather in the valleys at dawn, shrouding the hills in mystery. But the true soul of Yongin is found in the Korean folk village. This isn't just a tourist attraction, it is a living time capsule. Walking the dirt paths between straw-thatched cottages and noble mansions, you hear the clang of the blacksmith's hammer and the beat of traditional drums. You see the swirling ribbons of pungmul dancers cutting through the air. In autumn, the ridges surrounding the city turn a violent, beautiful red and gold, framing the harvest in the fields below. Yongin offers a breath of fresh air, a place where the concrete fades and the earth takes over. On the northeastern coast of Gangwon Province, pinned between the angry waves of the East Sea and the stone walls of Seoraksan, lies Sokcho. This is a city defined by its borders. The mountains push it toward the water, and the ocean pushes back with salt and wind. It feels wilder here, more elemental than the polished cities of the West. The shoreline is long and straight, a ribbon of pale sand stretching in front of water so deep blue it looks like ink. But turn your head 180 degrees, and the view changes instantly from endless horizon to vertical rock. The granite peaks of the national park rise sharply, looming over the streets and markets like ancient sentinels. Life in Sokcho revolves around the harbor. At night, the lights of squid boats scatter across the black water like a second city floating on the waves. In the morning, those same boats offload their catch at the docks, feeding the stalls where steam rises from baskets of stuffed squid and red snow crab. Sokcho is where you go to eat fresh from the ocean, feel the mountain wind on your face, and stand on the edge of the Korean peninsula. Off the eastern shore of Jeju lies a smaller, quieter world, Udo Island. Its name means Cow Island because its shape resembles a cow lying down, but the landscape is anything but sleepy. This is a place of vivid, saturated colors. The interior is a gentle quilt of green barley and peanut fields, divided by low walls built from black volcanic rock gathered by hand from the soil centuries ago. The coastline is where the drama unfolds. The beaches here don't look real. The sand is blindingly white, made of broken coral, and the water is a gradient of turquoise so clear it rivals the Caribbean. But just around the bend, cliffs of dark lava rock fall sharply into the sea, hiding sea caves carved by the relentless waves. Inside these caves, the light reflects off the water, painting the rock ceiling in dancing shades of blue. Life on Udo moves at the speed of a bicycle. There are few cars. Instead, visitors zip around the coastal road on scooters, feeling the salty breeze. As evening falls, the fishing boats gather in the harbors, their lights glowing on the water, turning the horizon into a string of pearls. Udo is a deep breath, a pause button on the edge of the world. North of the Han River, the city doesn't just end. It collides with a wall of stone. This is Bukhansan National Park, a rugged spine of granite that dominates the skyline of the capital. It is a geological miracle that a mountain range this wild exists within the limits of a megacity. The highest point, Haeundae, reaches over 800 meters. Its summit cliffs standing bare and white against the blue sky, visible from almost every corner of Seoul. But this park is not for the faint of heart. From the streets below, the mountains appear as sheer blocks of stone, and up close, they are even more formidable. Trails wind through shaded forests of pine and oak before breaking into open rock faces, where hikers must haul themselves up using steel cables and stairways bolted into the cliffs. It is a vertical adventure. The reward at the summit is one of the world's great urban views. In one direction, the layered blue ridges of Gangwon Province fade into the distance. In the other, the dense, vibrating grid of Seoul spreads out like a circuit board. Despite its proximity to millions of people, the park holds deep pockets of silence, hidden valleys where streams trickle over mossy boulders and ancient fortress walls crumble slowly into the earth. In the very center of Seoul, beside a roaring intersection where traffic never stops, stands Deoksugung. It is the smallest of the royal palaces, but perhaps the most fascinating. While Gyeongbokgung impresses with scale, Deoksugung intrigues with its story of transition. Stepping through the gates, you enter a visual paradox. Within the same walls, intricate wooden throne halls, painted in vibrant red and green, stand shoulder to shoulder with severe Western-style neoclassical buildings of stone and marble. This architectural collision captures a pivotal moment in history, the turn of the 20th century, when the Hermit Kingdom was opening its eyes to the world. It is a landscape where different eras stand side by side. Outside the walls, modern glass towers press close, looming over the trees. But inside, there is a distinct stillness. The sound of footsteps on stone and the creak of wooden doors echo through the courtyards. But the true romance of Deoksugung lies just outside its perimeter. The Deoksugung Doldam-gil, or Stonewall Road, curves around the palace. Walking here in autumn, under a canopy of yellow ginkgo leaves falling against the gray stones, feels like walking through a scene from a romantic drama. A quiet, nostalgic path in a city rushing toward the future. In the quiet foothills of Gyeongju, hidden away from the highways, lies Haedong, a botanical garden that feels less like a park and more like a painting come to life. The name means friendly communication, and the entire landscape is designed as a conversation between nature and humanity. It is set in a deep mountain valley where the air is cool and smells of damp earth and pine needles. The design here is deliberate but gentle. There are no steep stairs. Instead, gently sloping wooden walkways wind through the forest floor, weaving around ancient oak trees and moss-covered rocks. It allows you to float through the canopy without disturbing the ground. The landscape shifts dramatically with the seasons. In spring, the ridges are dusted with pink azaleas and cherry blossoms. In summer, the valley is a deep, cooling cavern of green. And in autumn, the maples explode into vivid reds and oranges that reflect perfectly in the garden's tranquil ponds. Brooks trickle under the bridges, and the silence is only broken by the sound of water and birdsong. Hwadam is a sanctuary where cultivated design flows seamlessly into the wild forest, inviting you to slow down and listen. On the northwest coast of Jeju lies Haeundae Beach, a place where the color palette of the world seems to have been adjusted for maximum contrast. The shoreline here is a striking study in opposites. The sand is pale and fine, made from crushed seashells, bordered by jagged ink-black volcanic rocks that tumble into the sea. And the water? It shines in shades of turquoise and emerald so vivid they look artificial, shifting to deep blue as the bottom drops away. At low tide, the sea pulls back to reveal tidal pools among the lava stones, glassy mirrors filled with small shells and swaying seaweed. But the view is dominated by one shape, Gyeongju. This small volcanic island rises dark against the horizon, looking like a floating mountain or a giant elephant wading in the shallows. Behind the beach, forests of pine and evergreen stretch inland, their shade reaching close to the sand, offering a cool retreat from the sun. The water here is calm and clear, sheltered by reefs that soften the waves, making it a gentle place where swimmers drift and fishing boats bob silently in the distance. Haeundae is the definition of Jeju's coastal beauty. White sand, black stone, and blue sea, perfectly balanced. On the southern coast of Jeollanam-do, the land doesn't just meet the sea, it dissolves into it. This is Suncheonmin Bay, a vast ecological wonder where rivers flow into the Yellow Sea, spreading into mudflats and reed fields that stretch as far as the eye can see. Twice a day, the water retreats, exposing wide, glistening expanses of dark mud, a nutrient-rich buffet that draws migratory birds from across the planet. But the defining image of Suncheonmin is the reeds. Broad stands of them cover the landscape, taller than a person. When the wind blows, the entire field moves like a living golden tide, rustling with a sound that is both immense and soothing. Wooden walkways float above the mud, carrying you right into the heart of this swaying ocean. The air here smells of brine and silt, heavy with life. In autumn, this place becomes a sanctuary for rare hooded cranes and spoonbills, their calls echoing over the water. Hiking up to the observation deck at sunset offers a view that feels prehistoric. The sun dipping below the mountains, turning the winding waterways into ribbons of molten gold. It is one of the few places where you can see the earth breathing. In the rolling southern hills, the landscape transforms into a masterpiece of agricultural geometry. This is Busan, the green tea capital of Korea. Here, entire mountainsides have been carved into terraces that follow the natural contours of the land. Row after row of bright, manicured bushes run in precise, hypnotic lines. From a distance, the fields don't look like plants at all. They resemble giant green waves, frozen in motion, rising and falling across the valley. The best time to be here is early morning. Often, a thick mist drifts through the valleys, settling between the ridges and softening the edges of the terraces until the world feels like a watercolor painting. Walking the narrow dirt paths between the rows, the air is crisp and filled with the faint, grassy scent of fresh tea. You might see workers moving slowly along the slopes, harvesting the delicate young leaves by hand, their baskets filling with the harvest. The fields are framed by tall cedar and pine forests, planted as windbreaks, creating a deep green border around this emerald sea. Boseong is a place of order and tranquility, a landscape that calms the mind just by looking at it. High in the mountains of Gangwon Province, the landscape shifts from jagged peaks to something vast and open. These are the Daegwalyeong Highlands, a windswept plateau rising 800 meters above the sea. Unlike the sharp granite spines of Seoraksan nearby, the ridges here are broad and rolling, resembling a green ocean caught in a storm. It is a place of big sky and constant wind. In summer, the hills are a vivid emerald, dotted with herds of cattle and sheep, grazing on some of Asia's largest ranches. It feels almost like the Swiss Alps or the plains of New Zealand dropped into East Asia. Massive wind turbines stand along the ridgelines, their white blades slicing through the mountain air. But winter changes everything. The highlands become a frozen kingdom, buried under meters of snow. This white expanse is so reliable that it became the stage for the Pyeongchang Winter Olympics. Whether green or white, Daegwalyeong is a gateway, a high pass where travelers have crossed for centuries, pausing to look out at the panorama where the mountains finally fall away into the distant sea. In the upper reaches of Gyeongsangbuk-do, the frantic pace of modern Korea grinds to a halt. This is Haedong, often called the capital of the Korean spirit. The city is set along the Nakdong River as it bends lazily between low mountains, creating calm waters that reflect the sky and the centuries-old villages along the banks. Haedong feels older, deeper. It has long been the center of Confucian learning, a place where scholars once gathered to debate philosophy in wooden halls that still stand today, surrounded by twisted pines and stone walls. The jewel here is the Haho Folk Village. It sits on a river loop, a cluster of traditional houses with tiled roofs for the nobility and thatched roofs for the commoners, preserving a social structure that vanished elsewhere long ago. But Haedong isn't just solemn study. It is also the home of the Haho mask dance. In the town squares, festivals bring these ancient rituals to life. Performers wearing smiling wooden masks dance and satirize the ruling class, a tradition of humor and rebellion handed down for generations. In Haedong, culture isn't something you watch. It's something that surrounds you, as persistent and gentle as the river itself. South of the mainland, the earth reaches out into the Korean Strait in a dramatic tangle of land and water. This is Gyeongju, Korea's second largest island, a place where the landscape refuses to be flat. It is a world of steep ridges that run across the interior like a spine, their slopes dropping abruptly into bays lined with fishing villages and hidden coves. Gyeongju is an island of two faces. On the northern shores, it is a titan of industry. Massive shipyards dominate the skyline, their gantry cranes standing like steel giants over the water, building vessels that will sail the world. It is a sight of awe-inspiring human scale. But travel south, and the island becomes wild and remote. The road winds along the coast, curving around cliffs that offer heart-stopping views of the archipelago scattered across the horizon. One of its most famous spots is Windy Hill, a grassy cape jutting out into the sea, crowned by a lone windmill. True to its name, the breeze here is constant, carrying the scent of salt and pine. Down on the beaches, like Haedong, You won't find sand, but smooth black pebbles. The waves crashing over them create a unique musical rattle, a soothing rhythm that defines the soundscape of this rugged, beautiful island. On the southern coast of Jeju, the island's volcanic heart bleeds water. In Seogwipo, two waterfalls offer completely different visions of nature's power. First, there is Cheonjeon, the pond of the Emperor of Heaven. To reach it, you walk inland along a subtropical path shaded by rare dampalsu trees and tangled vines. It feels secretive, a hidden garden. The falls themselves appear suddenly, a white curtain of water crashing down 22 meters into a deep, silent pool. At night, illuminated by hidden lights, the water glows against the darkness, and the pool, home to giant mottled eels, looks bottomless. Just a few kilometers east lies Gyeongbokgung, which breaks all the rules. It is the only waterfall in Asia to fall directly into the ocean. There is no hidden forest here. The water shoots over a high vertical cliff and plummets straight onto a rocky beach, mixing instantly with the salty tide of the East China Sea. Standing at the base, you are hit by a unique spray, fresh water from the mountain and salt spray from the waves colliding in the air. It is a place of raw, open energy, where the roar of the falls competes with the crashing of the surf. Off the southern coast, connected to the mainland by one of Korea's most beautiful suspension bridges, lies Namhae, often called Treasure Island. Unlike the flat plains of the west, Namhae is a rugged cluster of mountains rising straight out of the sea. The coastline is a jagged, scenic masterpiece where the road hugs the cliffs, offering a new, stunning ocean vista around every hairpin turn. The island's signature view is found at Gyeongju Village. Here, the mountains drop so steeply into the ocean that there was barely enough flat land to stand on. Yet, for generations, farmers carved narrow terraces into the vertical slopes, creating a staircase of rice paddies and garlic fields that descends all the way to the cliff's edge. It is a testament to human resilience, a vertical garden hanging above the waves. But Namhae holds surprises too. On an eastern ridge overlooking the water, you will find a cluster of white houses with bright orange roofs. The German village, built for Korean miners and nurses who returned home after working in Germany in the 1960s. It looks like a slice of Bavaria transplanted to the Korean coast. Here, you can drink authentic wheat beer while looking out over the bamboo fish traps bobbing in the South Sea. Namhae is a place of beautiful contradictions, rugged and refined, traditional and unexpected. Inland from the coast, in the heart of Jeollanam-do, the landscape turns vertical and vividly green. This is Damyang, the bamboo capital of Korea. The air here feels cleaner, cooler, filtered by millions of leaves. The crown jewel is Gyeongbokgung, a sprawling bamboo forest that covers the hillside. Stepping inside is like entering a natural cathedral. The thick stalks rise 10-20 meters straight up, creating a high, vaulted ceiling that dimming the sunlight into a soft emerald glow. The soundscape of Damyang is unique. When the wind blows, it doesn't rustle like ordinary leaves. The bamboo knocks and whispers, a hollow, soothing sound that has inspired Korean poets and scholars for centuries. It is a place designed for walking and thinking. But the greenery doesn't end in the forest. Just outside the town lies the Meta Sequoia Road. one of the most beautiful avenues in the country, lined with massive dawn redwood trees that form a high arched tunnel over the asphalt. The road transforms with the seasons, lush and deep green in summer, and burning with a rusty, fiery orange in late autumn. Damyang is a slow city, a place where nature dictates the pace, and the world is measured in the height of the trees. If Haeundae is the queen of Busan's days, Gwangali is the king of its nights. Located just a few bays to the west, this crescent of fine sand offers something no other beach in the city can: a front-row seat to the Diamond Bridge. The Gwanggandagyo Bridge stretches over 7 kilometers across the open bay, a double-decker marvel of engineering that dominates the horizon. During the day, it stands as a sleek line of white steel against the blue sea. But as the sun sets, the bridge wakes up. Thousands of LED lights ignite the structure, shifting in rhythm, fading from cool blues to warm ambers, dancing across the cables and reflecting like liquid fire on the dark waves below. It turns the ocean view into a massive, glowing theater screen. The energy on the shore reflects this electric backdrop. The street lining the beach is a wall of neon. Cafes with open terraces, pubs, and seafood restaurants bustling with noise. People don't just swim here, they gather. You'll see buskers singing acoustic ballads, couples holding hands under the glow of the bridge, and friends sharing raw fish platters on mats laid out on the sand. Gwangali isn't just a beach, it's an urban stage, lit by the city's most iconic landmark. In the southwest, there is a city that tastes as rich as it looks. This is Gyeongju, a place where Korean identity is preserved not just in wood and stone, but in flavor. At its heart lies the Gyeongju Hanok Village, the largest collection of traditional houses in the country. Unlike the palaces of Seoul, which were built for kings, this is a living neighborhood. 700 Hanoks cluster together, their graceful roof lines curving upward like the tips of a dancer's socks. Walking these streets is a sensory overload. The smell of street food is everywhere: grilled cheese skewers, sweet hotteok pancakes, and the spicy aroma of gochujang. Gyeongju is UNESCO's first city of gastronomy for a reason. This is the birthplace of bibimbap, Korea's most famous dish. Here, it is not just a meal. It is a philosophy, a bowl representing the harmony of the universe, where 5 colors and 5 flavors are mixed into one. But the city isn't stuck in the past. It is young and vibrant, filled with travelers renting bright hanbok robes to stroll through the alleys, taking selfies against the ancient walls. In Gyeongju, history isn't something you study. It is something you wear, something you walk through, and most importantly, something you eat. On the southern edge of Jeju Island, protected from the cold northern winds by the massive bulk of Halasan, lies Seogwipo. This is Korea's warmest city, a place where the air feels softer and the pace is unhurried. The landscape here is painted in vivid primaries: the deep azure of the ocean, the black of the volcanic cliffs, and the brilliant orange of the tangerine groves that blanket the hillsides. Seogwipo is the gateway to Jeju's wildest coast. It is a shoreline of dramatic geology, where pillars of rock like Udo stand lonely in the waves, and hexagonal cliffs carved by ancient lava flows drop straight into the sea at Yongmun. But the true spirit of Seogwipo is found in its people. Along these rocky shores, you can still see the Haeundae, the legendary women divers, disappearing into the water without oxygen tanks, surfacing minutes later with their catch, just as they have for centuries. It is a city that feels closer to nature, a sun-soaked refuge where the island's volcanic heart meets the open Pacific. At the mouth of the Han River, guarding the western approach to Seoul, lies Gyeongju. This island is not a resort. It is a fortress and a time capsule. For thousands of years, whenever the mainland fell into chaos or invasion, kings and courts fled here, relying on the treacherous tides and mudflats to keep enemies at bay. The coastline is studded with old brick fortresses and cannon emplacements that still aim out toward the sea, silent witnesses to 19th century battles against French and American warships. But the history here goes back much further. In the quiet fields, you will find the Goindol, massive stone dolmens from the Bronze Age. These prehistoric burial tables, balanced with impossible precision, stand as heavy, mysterious monuments to a civilization that existed long before recorded history. Gyeongju is also a place of tension. Standing at the Peace Observatory on the northern shore, the view is sobering. Just across a narrow stretch of water, so close you feel you could skip a stone across it, lies North Korea. Through binoculars, you can see the villages and fields of the north, a stark reminder that this peaceful island sits on one of the world's most heavily guarded fault lines. In the very center of the country lies Daejeon, a city that functions as Korea's beating heart of science and innovation. Often called the Silicon Valley of Korea, this is where the future is engineered. The skyline is dominated by the geometry of progress. The sharp needle of the Hanbit Tower and the glowing arches of the Expo Bridge, remnants of the 1993 Expo that announced Korea's arrival on the global technological stage. Research institutes and universities like KAIST cluster here, humming with the energy of discovery. But Daejeon is not just cold steel and glass. It is a city deeply connected to the earth. On the outskirts, the Gyeongsan Red Clay Trail offers a unique sensory experience. Here, hikers remove their boots to walk barefoot on a 14-kilometer path of soft, damp red clay winding through a pine forest, a grounding ritual believed to heal the body. And in the Usan district, natural heat rises from below. The streets are lined with outdoor foot baths where locals sit together, soaking their feet in steaming, mineral-rich water that has cured ailments for kings and commoners alike. It is a city of balance, where high-tech research centers sit just down the road from ancient hot springs, and where the future is built by people who still take the time to walk barefoot in the mud. In the southwest, there is a city that carries the conscience of a nation. This is Gyeongju, the city of light. It is a place defined less by its buildings and more by its spirit. This city is the birthplace of modern Korean democracy, where the 1980 uprising against military dictatorship left a scar that became a badge of honor. The memorials here are not just stone. They are open wounds and sacred grounds that remind the country of the price of freedom. But Gyeongju is not a city of mourning. It is a city of defiant creativity. It is the artistic soul of the southern provinces, home to the Gyeongju Biennale, Asia's oldest contemporary art festival. The streets buzz with a rebellious, creative energy, lined with galleries and studios where art is used to speak truth to power. Watching over it all is Mudongsan. This mountain doesn't just loom in the distance, it embraces the city. Its slopes are famous for the Yusangjeoli, strange hexagonal pillars of stone that look like a giant staircase frozen in time. Gyeongju is a city of deep resilience, where the memory of the past fuels a vibrant, colorful present. On the western coast of Jeollabuk-do, time seems to have stopped in the early 20th century. This is Gunsan, a port city that serves as a living museum of Korea's turbulent modern history. Walking through the time travel village, the architecture shifts dramatically. Instead of traditional Hanok or modern concrete, you are surrounded by the dark wood and tiled roofs of Japanese colonial buildings. Banks, customs houses, and wealthy merchant estates like the Hirotsu House. It is a haunting, atmospheric reminder of the era when rice flowed out of this port to feed an empire across the sea. But Gunsan finds charm in its grit. The most iconic image here is the Gyeongbokgung Railroad Village. Here, a train track runs impossibly close to the front doors of shanty houses. Decades ago, massive locomotives would squeeze through this gap, inches from laundry lines and flower pots. Today, the trains are gone, but the tracks remain, now filled with visitors wearing retro school uniforms, walking the sleepers, and buying Apollo candy from nostalgic corner stores. Gunsan is a city of sepia-toned memories, where the scars of history have been turned into a backdrop for reflection. In the center of the Korean peninsula, there is a mountain whose name literally translates to Mount Escape from the Vulgar. This is Seongnisan. Entering the park feels like a ritual of leaving the noise of the world behind. The journey begins on the Ori Forest Path, a 5-ri, 2-kilometer trail shaded by grand, old pine trees that twist and turn like dragons. It is one of the most beautiful approaches to any temple in Korea. At the end of the path lies Beopjusa, a spiritual treasure house. The scale here is humbling. Standing in the courtyard, your eyes are instantly drawn to the golden Maitreya Buddha, a massive 33-meter statue covered in gold leaf that radiates a calm, blinding power against the green mountains. It is a sight that commands silence, but the mountain calls you higher. The peaks of Seongnisan are sharp and craggy, earning it the nickname Little Diamond Mountain. Hikers climb toward Munjangdae, a cloud-shrouded rock terrace. Legend says a king once recited poetry here, inspired by the view. Standing on that white granite summit, looking out over a sea of ridges fading into blue mist, you understand why this place is called an escape. It is not just a park, it is a sanctuary for the mind. On the western edge of the peninsula, humanity has drawn a line across the sea. This is the Seimanjeom Seawall, the longest man-made dike in the world. Stretching nearly 34 kilometers, it connects the mainland to the islands of the Gyeongsan archipelago, effectively redrawing the map of South Korea. It is a staggering feat of engineering, a barrier that turned the open ocean into a vast, silent lake. Driving here feels surreal. The road runs straight and flat, suspended between the sky and the water. To your left is the tamed, calm reservoir. To your right, the restless tides of the Yellow Sea. It feels less like driving on a road and more like piloting a ship across the surface. But the seawall is also a bridge to beauty. It links the mainland to the Gyeongsan Islands, a cluster of peaks rising from the sea that were once accessible only by boat. Now, you can drive straight to Seongju, hopping from island to island on bridges that offer panoramic views of the fishing boats and jagged coastlines below. Saemangeum is a place of scale, where the ambition of modern engineering meets the timeless beauty of the archipelago. Korea is a place of profound rhythm. It is found in the silence of a mountain temple and the roar of a baseball stadium. It is in the patience of a grandmother fermenting kimchi for the winter and the speed of a digital city that never sleeps. It is a country that doesn't ask you to choose between the past and the future. It demands that you experience both, often in the same moment. You can stand on a fortress wall built 600 years ago and look out at a skyline that belongs in the next century. You can hike through wild, jagged granite peaks in the morning and walk through a neon-lit canyon of skyscrapers by night. From the volcanic shores of Jeju to the frozen ridges of Gyeongwon, from the spiritual quiet of Haedong to the industrial power of Ulsan, this is a land of morning calm and electric nights. It is complex, beautiful, and endlessly moving. This is Korea.